simply wonderful. Thank all of you for being here. It's incredibly rewarding to see so many people dedicated to this fight against prescription drug abuse. In particular, I want to thank the team at Pew Charitable Trust, headed up by Alan Gukel, who made prescription drug abuse a priority, and he put on this terrific briefing we'll see today. We're also lucky to have with us John Eady, who's made the advancement of prescription drug monitoring programs his life's work. We're also lucky to have all of you here. And finally, I would be remiss if I did not give a special thanks and recognition to Karen Kelly, seated in the middle of the table, who's traveled from my congressional district in eastern Kentucky to be with us here today. Karen is the director of Operation Unite. And in that role, she's been both passionate and effective in fighting this epidemic. We all benefit from learning about her organization. When this epidemic took hold in my rural congressional district, more than a decade ago, we were totally unprepared. We were on the precipice of some major economic breakthroughs when prescription drugs, mostly OxyContin, flooded our communities. Suddenly, our emergency rooms were filled with people overdosing on drugs in the medicine cabinet. Suddenly, whole communities were being swept away with lawlessness and prescription drug abuse. Operation Unite represents our local response, our way of fighting back. I'm sure Karen will share more about these amazing efforts to take back our communities. But I couldn't be more proud of how we've taken on drug pushers, helped drug users, and encouraged healthy, drug-free living among our young people. At the federal level, Frank Wolf and I look for tools that can both assist well-intended doctors in their prescribing practices, but also helping law enforcement root out the bad actors, the so-called drug dealers and white coats. Prescription drug monitoring programs certainly fit the bill. These programs acknowledge that a family doctor, a neighborhood pharmacist, and a local law enforcement officer are all critical to keeping these drugs from diversion or abuse. Back in 2001, there were only 16 states that had authorized programs. Today, 49 states have authorized PDMPs. But standing them up is one thing, effectively using them is our next challenge. The best practices you will hear today are an important step in maximizing PDMPs. I'd like to briefly highlight two areas in particular where I believe we can gain ground in the short term. First, interstate data exchange. If a dealer can circumvent PDMPs by taking a day-long trip to collect pills in Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio, West Virginia, then we've effectively neutralized this arrow in our quiver. This summer, we achieved a milestone when the Alliance of States with Prescription Drug Monitoring Programs adopted the so-called PIMEX architecture, a set of technical standards to facilitate the secure exchange of prescription data among state-run PDMPs. BGA, which is represented here today, was instrumental to seeing this to the finish line. In addition, due in large part to the efforts of the National Association of Boards of Pharmacy, this exchange is already happening in 10 states around the country, allowing us to sniff out the interstate doctor shopping that has fueled the pill pipeline. We need to get all 50 states connected to these data hubs. Second, we need to increase utilization of PDMPs by the medical community. Until recently, only a third of Kentucky doctors were taking advantage of this critical resource. Thanks in large part to Karen Kelly, we passed a state law requiring doctors to register with CASPR and check on a patient's usage. Absent a mandate, we have to find ways to make PDMPs more attractive to the medical community and make it a medical necessity. Efforts are underway to more seamlessly integrate PDMPs into a doctor's workflow through electronic health records and e-prescribing. The sooner we can achieve what I call PDM 2.0, the better. PDMPs are a powerful tool, but they can't be used as a silver bullet. PDMPs will be effective only if they are used in concert with other efforts, like education, treatment, sustained pressure by DEA, FDA, and other law enforcement officials. We need a continued multi-pronged effort to end this terrible cycle of abuse that the Center for Disease Control is called the national epidemic. At the first of its kind National Prescription Drug Abuse Summit in Orlando earlier this year, leaders from around the country joined with Unite to think strategically about the path forward. Drug czar Gil Kerlikowski, federal and local law enforcement, anti-drug organizations like the Partnership at DrugFree.org, public health officials, educators, prosecutors, all rallied together to share ideas for reducing drug abuse in rural and urban communities and mending families ripped apart by this scourge. Incidentally, the Prescription Drug Abuse Summit will reconvene next year, and you don't want to miss it. It's close to Disney World. But that's not the reason. But we hope you'll come back. It was a marvelous summit. 750 experts from around the country. A place for us all to share and learn, talk about best practices, and so on. This collaboration and thoughtfulness must continue. And the best practices shared today need to become the practices in our states and communities tomorrow. As has been said, I wanted to stay with you, but we have a briefing, confidential closed briefing that I must go to with the Secretary of State and others about what's happening in the world. But congratulations to you for this great turnout. And I think you're going to hear some wonderful things from this panel. Thank you. Godspeed.